Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the More Than a Minute podcast. So for one of our first videos, we want to tab a little story time. I'm Isaac. This is
Desiree.
So we just want to talk about how we met, because I'm sure some of y'all may be wondering, maybe not, but we want to talk about the story and how we met. So we've been together for how many years now?
Married or together?
Together.
12?
12, going on 13, huh?
Going on 13.
Going on 13 years, but we've been married 11 years. Our story began back in 2009. That probably sounds like a long time ago for some of y'all. But back in 2009, that's when, no, actually,
It was before. I was going to say,
I don't even know our story.
I think it actually began before that.
2008?
At least like a year. Yeah. It was like a year before that.
True.
That was like the very beginning, like the beginning of the beginning, kind of.
Mm-hmm. So back in the day, there was this whole new movement of social media. And one of the biggest social medias at the time was Myspace. I'm sure some of y'all remember MySpace, but that's how we met. So go ahead and tell them a little bit.
Okay. Well, so I'm the kind of person with my social media. I'm very cautious. I don't want to say I'm skeptical of people, but I'm very cautious. I don't like adding people on social media that I don't know.
Which is smart.
Yeah. Or people that I haven't at least seen in person like once, just because I think I watched too many crime shows and I'm very cautious.
Still does.
So I had gotten a friend request from a MySpace page named Christ-Side Saints, is what I believe, right? Was the name of the whole MySpace page.
Me and my brother, we had a rap group called Christ-Side Saints.
Yeah. So I got the friend request, and I know like some people like this gets under their skin. It's like a really big pet peeve. But when I got the friend request, I messaged the profile and I was like, "Hey, do we know each other? Like, have we met?"
Yeah.
Because I don't like adding people I don't know.
Reasonable response.
And so, yeah, I sent that message and I got a reply back from Isaac. Did you want to tell them what your reply was, or do I tell them?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Oh my gosh. I was not expecting that.
Oh, I do remember like kind of what she talked about. Like she was like needed prayer or something like that and some advice. So I gave her advice and then I prayed. But that's all I really remember.
Well, let me tell you why I remember. So at the time, I had to be 16 because when I met, I just turned 17, right? Mm-hmm. You had just turned 16. So 16-year-old me was very angry and very hurt and very broken. I grew up in a family where we were very involved in church. My dad was a pastor. And a couple of years before I actually met Isaac, my parents had separated, and 15, 16-year-old me, 14-year-old me couldn't understand why, even though my dad was a pastor and my parents served God, why that all of what happened in our family could have happened. So at the time, I was very angry. At that time, I didn't want anything to do with God or with church. So when Isaac messaged me, this is why I remember coming from that kind of feeling and mentality. When he messaged me and I asked, like, "Hey, do we know each other?" He started telling me about how, they moved to Casa Grande and they were doing Christian music, and of everything that he told me. I don't remember everything. I think that might have actually been it because it wasn't a very long message. I don't think. But after he told me that he was a Christian, that kind of like struck a chord in me. And because I knew who God was, and because Isaac was somebody who represented God, to me, because at that time I didn't have anybody, because a lot of people that I knew that went to church, I kind of cut off from my life because I didn't want anything to do with church. So when Isaac told me that he was a Christian, I kind of wanted to reach out. And so I opened up and I told him everything that happened, like with our family. So his reply to me wasn't long, but mine back was. I opened up and I told him everything that happened with my family and how I told him. I remember like telling him how I felt, and he did respond back. And I thought he wouldn't, because he'd probably thought that I was crazy, or like, what is this girl on? Like, why is she telling me all this? I don't even know her. But at that point, going through that, I had never told anybody anything about how I felt. I just kind of held it in. So that was kind of a release for me. And I remember he encouraged me and he told me that he would pray for me.
So that was pretty much it. Like after that, we just didn't talk.
We never talked again after that, ever.
Me and my brother got invited to rap at this thing called Arizona Storm here in Casa Grande, where they were having like these Christian concerts where people would come in and a bunch of groups would come in to play. Anyways, so we got invited to rap there. I invited one of my teachers at the time to come out and, to support. My teacher had a son who was friends with her, so they all came, and so that's how I met Desiree.
Yeah, so at the time, I had, like he said, a really good friend whose mom was a teacher, and we hung out like all the time. So I spent a lot of weekends with them. I went on trips with them every day after school. So we only went to school for 4 hours a day at our high school. I had never met Isaac like at school, but I was friends with the teacher's son. And I don't remember where we wanted to go. Like so after school, we got out of school at like 11, and she would stay at the school until like 4:35 maybe. So like after school, we would go hang out, whatever. And then we would meet up with her. So I remember there was a day that we met up with her and we went out to eat. I don't remember where we wanted to go afterwards, but we were asking her like, hey, is it okay if we go do this? And she was telling us about a student who invited her to a concert that he was rapping at. And she told us like, oh yeah, you guys can go, that's fine, but you guys want to, I'm okay with you guys going if you guys go after. If you guys come with me, I want you to come. Okay. So we were like, oh, okay, because we wanted to do what we wanted to do. I don't even remember what it was, but we were like, yeah, we'll go. So we went with her to the concert, and I remember, I think when we got there, I think you were already rapping, if I remember right. I think so. Remember. Either that or like, because we weren't there very long. I had never known about it before until then. So I remember we got there where they had the event was kind of like, what would you say it is, like a pavilion type thing where it's like all grass.
I guess so, yeah.
And then it kind of goes down. And then there's a stage. So like I remember we got there and we were standing like way in the back, and that's why I say I think you guys are already up there or you were going up there.
So I think she was there during, because I remember somebody took a picture and then she posted it like in the hallway at our high school.
Well, like yeah, in the front office. I remember that we were there when you rapped, because we were way in the back and we sat down in the grass, and then she wanted to go up to the stage. And she was like, hey, do you want to go? And I was kind of like, not really. But she was like, yeah, come on, let's go. And so I was like, okay. So I went up there with her, and we were like right in front of the stage. I remember you guys did Call Out. Like that's the song that I remember. I know I don't know how many songs you guys did the night, but I remember that one. But I remember like watching you guys, and like I liked you. And it was kind of hard for me because like I liked him, but knowing that, I mean, obviously, I could hear your music, that it was Christian. I didn't even put it together yet that he was who I talked to the year before.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Yeah. But hearing like the message of his music, I knew what he was about. So I didn't know, growing up in a family where I was raised in church, I wasn't allowed to date. So I didn't know if Isaac dated because he was a Christian.
Right.
So I liked him, but I didn't think to like talk to you. I think that night I might have just like said hi, oh, nice to meet you, like that kind of thing.
We just kind of just talked real briefly. It wasn't anything like, hey, what's up? You want to be my girlfriend? Or hey, like it wasn't anything, I guess, flirtatious. It was just casual conversation. I think we found out we did have each other on Myspace already.
Yeah, I think
that's a friend.
I didn't remember this until I say it. Well, you know what? No, I can't. I'm not sure. I don't know if you messaged me first on Myspace, because the Myspace was still like the thing then.
It was popular. It's like Instagram.
That's
or
what everybody
TikTok
used.
Is, yeah.
And kind of like Facebook. I think Facebook does it now, where like you have your message, but then you can scroll down and see all the old messages. The whole thread is
still saved.
Yeah, and I don't know why I did that. Like I was just scrolling down messages, and then I happened to see like our old messages were still there. I hadn't deleted them.
But there's a plot twist during this. So during the time, she was actually dating somebody else. Like, how dare you? How dare you date somebody?
Not when we met. I wasn't dating somebody else when we met, but so when I met you, I had just started kind of having that like flirtatious type stuff with the other guy. And I think right after I met you, right after I met you is when we started dating. So I think that was the other reason too that I didn't think to like pursue it because I was already talking to somebody else.
We took it slow. So I'm just gonna fast forward here. So eventually she was having some problems with this dude, and I was just pretty much like, what do you call it, a wingman? I don't know.
I guess kind of.
I don't know.
Not
Anyways,
really, because you weren't. Well, no.
I was the third wheel, I guess, so to speak. Anyways, I was just like encouraging her to say, hey, it's gonna work out. Y'all gonna be fine. I could tell y'all like really adore each other or whatnot. Just trying to be that friendly guy. Like I don't even remember if I meant it. I was just telling her, anything that would encourage her, right? So long story short, it didn't work out. They broke up, and then not too long after that, we started talking more seriously. That's in short. I guess that wasn't really short, but that's how we met. Now, how we started dating was immediately invited her to church. Fast forward, how we started dating is that we started talking more and more, and I was actually talking to her on the Myspace one time, and I asked her if she would be my girlfriend. I think we were on the phone at one point.
Yeah, you messaged me, and then we were talking on the phone.
And so she said yes. She'd be my girlfriend.
He asked me by message, and then then we ended up on the phone.
You gotta say all that. I'm gonna cut that part.
He sent me a private message.
Yes.
And asked if I would be his girlfriend, and I don't even know if I responded.
I don't remember, but I just remember somehow we ended up on the phone. But she did say yes. So I was like, cool, I finally got me a diamond. You know what I mean? Like, but anyways, so actually, like within minutes though, her saying yes, she was like, you know what? I need to think about this. And I remember my heart just sank. Like it just sank. I just felt this terrible feeling. She made me wait a week.
Well, let me tell you why. So,
is there anything
why I changed my mind? Because I didn't date a lot when I was younger. By the time so me and the guy that I had been dating previously, when I first met Isaac, somehow like in all of that, I was, even after we broke up, I was still like, remember like this, I was like 16 years old at the time. So it was like the worst thing in the world. Right. So yeah, I was like, I'm not going to make it. Like, how can I go on? Like that kind of thing. So talking to you after that, I didn't want to feel like I was jumping from one relationship right into another because 16-year-old me was trying to be mature.
Right.
And say, well, I don't want to just date this guy because I just came out of a relationship with another guy. Yeah, you know what I mean? I didn't want to do that. I don't want to feel like I was doing that. That's why I said yes. Because like I said already, like a couple months before that, I had liked him when I met him, or when I saw him. Before I met him, but I saw him. I liked him. But I didn't want to feel like I was doing that. So that's why I said yes. And then I kind of thought about it, and I was like, can I ask you something? It's like, yeah. Can I think about it for a little while
and I respect it. And, I waited. So I feel like if any man is willing to wait on you, that's shows his character a lot. If he's ready to just move on, like, I don't want to wait for you, I feel like that might be a red flag. A week later, my brother and I were rapping at a youth convention here in Arizona. And so we brought Desiree with us. She rode with us. My mom and dad drove us out there. But we actually had stopped at a Peter Piper Pizza before we actually even went to the convention.
At the Peter Piper, that was the first time that we actually really got to like hang out in person, or like for a long amount of time. Before that, we were always just talking on the phone or talking on MySpace or emailing. Sometimes you were emailing me.
Yeah, I didn't have a phone. I didn't.
The struggle was real.
I was using a landline phone to talk to her.
So at the Peter Piper, we got to hang out and stuff like that. That's where we took our first photo ever.
This one right here is showing.
Yes, we look like babies.
So that's where we took our first photo, and that's where we actually became official as a couple.
I was joking before we recorded this video because Isaac asked me to be his girlfriend. I said yes. And then I told him if I could have some time to think about it. And after that, he never actually like formally asked me again to be his girlfriend. And I never thought about that until we were talking about what we were going to talk about. So sometime during like either when we were at Peter Piper or the convention, like driving around and stuff like that, I had my cell phone. I was texting a friend and she was asking me like, hey, what are you doing? Because I remember it was kind of like the same day, I think, when you asked me if I wanted to go to the youth convention. And you were like, yeah, my parents said they'll take you and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, okay, I'll go. So I didn't tell anybody that I was leaving. And so I had a friend that had texted me and she asked like, hey, what are you doing? And I told her that I was out of town and stuff. And she was like, who are you with? And I told her like, oh yeah, I'm with this guy. Cause I don't even know if I had really talked about you to anybody at all. Like my friends. I remember I was texting her and Isaac was messing with my phone and she texted back while he had my phone. And I don't know, you text her something like saying hi or like, hi, this is Isaac, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think she was like, who's this? And then I looked at Desiree and I was like, so I say it's your boyfriend? And then she gave me the nod, like, yes.
I was like, if you want to.
If you want to. So we said yes. So that's when we officially became a couple. She mentioned earlier, I never really asked her out. Like after she like, you know,
after I said,
after she rejected me the first time, you know what I'm saying? And then fast forward, now we've been married 11 years, going on 12, and we got an 11-year-old daughter. My wife actually has a funny story about a conversation she had with my daughter.
So Jada's getting older. Our daughter's name is Jada.
Jada.
And she's getting to the age where she asks a lot of questions. She's very observant. I was with her sometime last week. We went to grab a bite. We were sitting in the car. We do this frequently. We go out to grab something to eat and we'll just park somewhere and talk, and sometimes we'll watch stuff, like we'll put a phone in the middle so we can all see it, like that kind of thing. So me and her went out solo. We went and grabbed a bite and she was asking me how we met, and I'm very cautious in like what I tell her. I like to be honest with her, but I try to be smart about how I'm honest with her. So I was telling her about how we met online, and then like way later after that we met in person, and she's like, I don't know, the story was like so funny to her. She was like, I have to ask Dad for his side. I don't think she has. But then yesterday we were talking, and I was talking to her about how it's important for us to be kind to people, and how there's people that truly experience like church hurt. I was explaining to her the concept of that. And so I brought up how I stopped going to church, and I told her it had nothing to do. When I look at like the actual reason I stopped going to church when I was younger, it had nothing to do with my family, even though that's what I was so upset about with God. I stopped going because of somebody in the church that hurt me and my family. That had to do with all that. Like it was a whole dynamic thing at play. But when I told Jada that's why I stopped going, and then she brought up the story, like how we met. And she was like, isn't that funny how God kind of set that up? Yeah. And I was like, you get me, kid. Because that's what I've always thought. I've always been like, oh my gosh. Like even as soon as I realized like that's who I was talking to, the person that I had talked to so long before that like helped me at the time when I really needed it. Because like I said, I didn't open up to anybody that I knew. Right. It was easier to open up to somebody that I didn't know. But I thought it was funny. I always think it's funny that happened the way that it did.
So God has his plan, and yes, now we're still here. So that's our story time of how we met. We hope that you're blessed by it. And our story has so many chapters to it, and we can't wait to share it with you guys because it's going to take more than a minute. So God bless you guys. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we out.